Tomi Lahren ignited a media firestorm with her red, white, blue, and unfiltered final thoughts on the Chattanooga terrorist attack that killed 4 Marines and 1 sailor. Now she's back with more final thoughts to share on the Blaze TV. Her self-titled 1-hour television program will launch February 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The South Dakota native and University of Nevada, Las Vegas political science and journalism graduate, previously hosted One American News Network's On Point with Tomi Lahren. If you liked On Point, then you will love Tomi. Please put your hands together and a hugely warm welcome for Tomi.
Bring the good time home to you. We'll have a house party. We don't need nobody. Turn your TV off. Break that boombox out. We'll wake up all right.
Well, it's so nice to see so many young ladies out here. I know Buck is my Blaze brother, and he was really here for the women. That's what it was. So you didn't disappoint, and you all look very nice, by the way. I was talking to a couple of the girls backstage. You notice the difference between a conservative women's conference and a liberal women's conference because y'all dress like women, so good for you. You already won. Don't tell Hillary, but you can wear a dress and still be a woman. So if you take nothing else from that today, pantsuit joke number 1, right there you go. Tally for Tomi. So, for those of you that don't watch The Blaze or haven't seen me on The Blaze, you probably know me as the blonde girl that rants on Facebook and your liberal friends hate me. I could really stand up here all day and read mean tweets off my Twitter about how ignorant and stupid I am. The loving left is always so kind to me. But, I was telling Charlie, or I'm about to tell Charlie, and we got the Young Women's Leadership Seminar, which is fantastic. Hoping that in the next couple of months we have the Young Men's Leadership Seminar, but I have some qualifications like age 23 to 31, athletic, 6 foot and above. Because for those of you that didn't see my final thoughts last week, I've also been recently dumped. So, Charlie. But that's what I love about my opportunities on Facebook and my opportunities at The Blaze is I can talk to you all really about anything. Honestly, they let me say about anything that I want. Yesterday, I was able to say a swear word. That was another, a badge of honor for me, but after we have another radical Islamic terrorist attack, I feel it's fitting. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna say a swear word. I'll try to keep it to a minimum here though, and we're on Facebook Live right now. Also would like to say, my social media guy is down in the front. His name is Mateen. Not a good day to be named Mateen, but nevertheless, this is our friend, Mateen, okay? We really are the left's worst nightmare, though, and not just because we dress like women, because we don't fit into their box. And they don't like it when you don't fit into their box, but don't be afraid to disappoint them. Last year, I was at CPAC. That was my first opportunity to drop some pantsuit jokes, but I like to talk about the Democrats because they tell us that, we are rich, white, old men. And then I look at the Democratic Party and I see, Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and Elizabeth Warren, and I see old, white, rich, and if the pantsuit fits, men too. But that's beside the point. Thank you. You really give me encouragement when you laugh at my pantsuit jokes. And my producer, Jessica's gonna hate it because she hates it when I write so many into the show. I have to almost take it down a notch sometimes. But let's start off, we're gonna make this interactive because you guys have been listening to speakers all day long. And you hear me talk on Facebook all the time, millions of views a day, thank you. But I wanna hear you talk because this isn't just about me, this is about all of us. First, though, I'm going to jump in. I've already talked about feminism a little bit. The feminists, the likes of Lena Dunham, Hillary Clinton, they hold themselves up as the epitome of femininity, which is rather sad. Barely women. But they like to hold themselves up. I'm sorry, I have a lot of jokes. Just take it with a grain of salt. It's all in good fun. But they hold themselves up as the epitome of femininity. I'm not even going to address Lena Dunham on that because She has made false rape accusations, which in the time of right now and what just went on at Stanford, I'm sorry, but as a woman, as a conservative woman, as an American, as a human being, I take offense to something like that. But we're gonna leave Lena out of it right now. She's somewhere getting undressed on HBO. So, right, no one wants to see that, Lena. No one, not even Caitlyn Jenner wants to see that. But I want to turn to Hillary Clinton now. I don't say never Trump. I know there's probably some never Trumpers in the audience. My boss, Glenn, is probably the king of the never Trump movement. I'm not going to address that, maybe later. Never Hillary is what I say. I'm going to say it all the way up until November. And I'm going to keep nailing her to the wall because she deserves it. Thank you. Now, Hillary will tell you that the conservatives, Republicans don't like her because she's a woman. Nothing to do with that. You know what? It doesn't even have to do with the fact that she's a Democrat. It has to do with the fact that she's a liar. And we all know it, and we're going to nail it to the wall on it. Thank you. I respected Hillary Clinton just for her achievements up until Benghazi. After that, you lost me. When you lie to the families of our fallen warriors and you tell them that a terrorist attack was because of a YouTube video, I'm sorry, you are now disqualified to be president of the United States. As someone who's made a few YouTube videos in my time and happens to do pretty well on Facebook, I take great offense to that. You don't mess with red, white, and blue, and you don't mess with the United States military. End of discussion. We're done. Thank you. But there's a logical fallacy rooted in feminism, and the feminists, they attack me for it all the time. They say, you wouldn't be where you are if not for feminism. They're right, I wouldn't be. The feminism of today, though, is not the feminism of yesterday. It's quite different. It used to be about women's rights, which I think all of us in this room appreciate women's rights. We want to be able to vote. We want to be able to own property. Obviously, we want to be treated as equals. The feminism of today is all about gimme. It's give me this, pay for my birth control, pay for my abortions, talk about women's issues. I don't know about you, but I find it insulting when I have the likes of Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren and the rest of the feminists telling me what a women's issue is. Because personally, my issues vary every day, and that's why I do Final Thoughts. Yesterday it was radical Islamic terrorism. Tomorrow it might be guns. In fact, tomorrow it's probably going to be the State of the Women conference that's going on at the White House right now. Because that's a bunch of crap. They're talking about rape culture, they're talking about the pay gap, they're talking about things that have some importance in society, but they're shifting them and they're using statistics that are false. I have a problem with that. We all know that there is, in some ways, there's a pay gap. I've experienced it myself. I'm not going to stand up here and say that women always make as much as men, because in many circumstances, they don't. But to say 70 cents on the dollar and use your false narrative and your false statistics, I just don't like lies. Again, why I don't like Hillary Clinton. But that's what feminism has become. It's become pay for my birth control, pay for my things, because we need you to pay for us so that we are equal. Another fallacy of feminism that I see Hillary Clinton do on a daily basis when she throws out that woman card is she tells us, I am making history. You know, it's a milestone because I am the first female nominee of a major political party. First of all, I would rather call it a kidney stone than a milestone. That's just me. But she tells us that she's so historic and that we should vote for her because it's a great day for women. You should vote for a woman because she could be the first. I said it in my Final Thoughts last week. It's not good enough to be first. You have to do something. We had a first 8 years ago, and I don't know about you guys, but it's not working out so well. But what Hillary does that bothers me the most is she says, treat me special because I'm a woman. Don't attack me because I'm a woman. If you do, you're sexist. She even calls Bernie sexist, or at least her minions do. So she says, treat me special because I'm a woman, but also treat me the same, treat me equal. You can't have it both ways. You can't say I'm special, but I'm also equal and don't treat me any differently. That's not how feminism works. Thank you. So we'll move away from Hillary for just a moment. But what I'm going to do with this today, because I want it to be interactive, is I'm going to hit a point, and then I want responses, I want questions. So right now, topic is feminism. I know you guys have probably been talking about this for most of the week, but I want to know if we have any questions or even just statements. The first one, I saw you first. I don't know if there's a circulating mic anywhere. What's your name, hun? Maya.
A lot of people have talked about feminism throughout the summit so far, which I appreciate. But one thing I've never heard someone say so far is the term man-hating. And I think that third wave feminism personally has turned into a lot of man-hating. I hear a lot of, don't call women weak, but then we call men rapists. All men are rapists, all men are pigs, all men are aggressive, and things like that. And so I want to know how you feel about that. Do you think that modern feminism has become sexist against men?
A lot of it has become about man bashing. Really, two things. I'm glad that you brought that up because feminism has become that. It's become, I want free things and here are my women's issues, and also we need to rail against men and bash men on a daily basis. I don't believe in that. I for one, am traditional in a lot of ways. I'm not going to get mad at a man if he holds a door open for me. That's chivalry. That has nothing to do. It doesn't take away my rights. Thank you. It doesn't, and you don't have to hate men. And many people attacked me with the Stanford rape incident, and they said, "Oh, Tommy, I bet you won't talk about that because that's a white man, and you all know that Tommy's going to stand in allegiance with white men and monsters." And then I dropped my final thoughts, and I told him to go to hell. And then guess what? They shut up. To me, conservatism and just being an American is pointing out the things that are wrong and holding up the things that are right, regardless. So that's why the left hates us, is because we have women, we have black women, we have black men, we have Hispanics, we even have transgenders. We have a lot of people that follow the conservative values and conservative mentality, and they don't like that because they think that they should be playing for their team. All women should play for their team. All African Americans should play for their team. All gays, transgenders, what have you, should play for their team. When you don't, they're going to call you an Uncle Tom. They're going to tell you hate yourself. I, for one, don't get up in the morning and pity myself because I'm a woman, and I certainly don't hate myself. So they need to get a new narrative. It's a tired one, this war on women. And again, I'm going to bring up Hillary again because if you want to talk about a war on women, Hillary Clinton has led a war on women since the 80s, maybe even before. Let's be honest. And they say, you can't talk about Bill. Bill's off the table. Bill is 100% on the table. Sorry. And the reason being for that, and if you've watched my final thoughts, you know, you don't send Bill out to campaign for you and then tell us we can't attack Bill. Also, you don't stay with someone that cheated on you and then talk about the empowerment of women. I agree with standing by your man. He cheated on you. He publicly humiliated you. You stayed with him for the power. That says a lot about her character. Not only that, but when Bill messed up, when Bill was caught in the act, Hillary didn't go after Bill. Well, she may have. Actually, there's some reports that he had some black eyes. But she went after the women. That's who she went after. So now she's trying to stand up here and tell us that she's this big advocate for women. She's the epitome of feminism. No, I'm sorry, you've got some skeletons in your closet and so does Bill, and I'm going to bring him up every day because you deserve it. Don't send him out there then. Leave him at home. She's already said she's going to give him a job on handling economics. No, thank you, Hillary. We're good. But I know we had another question. I'm probably going to go off on a million tangents, but I saw you with your hair half up. There you are. So I don't know your name, so I'm going to refer to you by visuals. The feminists also hate that.
Hi, I'm Caitlin from Arizona, and you mentioned your final thoughts from last week, and that's actually what my question pertains to, the Monster from Stanford video. I shared it on my Facebook because I completely agreed with it, and I was looking for a story written by a conservative woman as opposed to liberal media, and a liberal friend commented, probably true, but I hate her. And it occurred to me that the left thinks they have claim on issues such as sexual assault. So my question for you is, how can we show the left and our friends on the right that this can be an issue for everybody?
It's an issue for humans. It's not an issue for the left. Why do they think they have a monopoly on humanitarianism and just being a decent being? They think they have a monopoly in all those things. First of all, before I get to your question, I want to take a poll here. How many of you have shared my videos on your Facebook page and have gotten massive hate from your liberal friends? Raise your hand. So basically all of you. Keep doing it. It really pisses them off, and that makes me happier than ever. Really, people say, like, every time I see Tommy's videos pop up on my feed, I want to punch myself. Like, go ahead. Like, I'm not stopping you. Go for it. Sounds good. Take a picture, Snapchat it, we're good. But to your point, when we speak out against these things, it's because we're speaking up for what is right, not for what is popular, not for what is going to get us in the news. I don't do my final thoughts to get views. I do them because I mean them from the heart, and you can tell that's why I went viral. No one cared about my show on One America when I went viral the first time. I didn't do it for ratings and to just get agitated for views. But when we're speaking about rape culture, it's a very real thing. I know that you ladies, I've experienced that mentality being out in a bar. Men will touch you. They think that for some reason that they can do that all of a sudden they can touch you. I'll tell you actually a personal story. I was in a bar in uptown Dallas last weekend, and I had a guy come up to me and start talking to me. And he started telling me like how much money he had and how he was gonna, he's gonna change my life. And I needed to listen to him, and he doesn't take no for an answer. So I walked away because I too don't take no for an answer, and you're bothering me, go away. He then goes up to my guy friends and tries to convince them that I should talk to him. In what universe do you think that I don't speak for myself? Thank you, you can watch my final thoughts. I do that on a daily basis. But we've all dealt with this. We know that men, in many instances, can be disgusting people. That women can be as well. The thing that bothers me, though, the most about the monopoly on the rape culture and the sexual issues is I speak out where I see wrong. So, for example, I don't know if you guys remember that Rolling Stone, the University of Virginia, the false rape story of Jackie. And it turned out to all be a hoax. It was a lie. The journalist had one source, and that was Jackie. She didn't verify with anybody else. She didn't cross-check any of her sources. She didn't seek the truth to report it. She was doing it for sensationalism. She wanted to write a story about college rape, so she went and found someone. She spun a great tale, and what did that do for real rape victims? It did absolutely nothing. It discredited them. So the fact that now the left says, well, you guys, the conservatives, they don't care about rape, they don't care about campus sexual assault. We care about when it's real. And in the case of Stanford, it was real. And we're gonna stand up for it every day, all day. And if they tell you that they have a monopoly on it, you can tell them that they're wrong. Just plain and simple, you're wrong. And we can speak out just as well as they can. We can speak out more definitively, and we can do it with the facts and with the truth. We don't have to sensationalize it for some kind of a feminist award at the end of the day so that we can get a retweet from Lena freaking Dunham. I'm sorry, it's not important to me. Front row, blue dress.
Hi, Tommy. My name is Megan. I'm from James Madison University of Virginia. I just want to say I admire you so much, and you're one of my greatest role models. And I have a really passionate thought about a certain issue, so I had to write it down all on my phone. So
great, that's where I write my iCloud.
Excuse me for looking at my phone note.
No, you're good.
I watched your final thoughts about radical Islam in relation to the Orlando tragedy. I completely agree that we need to face the problem and name the problem, quote from you, that is radical Islam instead of becoming Muslim sympathizers like the left has. In my school, I study Middle Eastern languages, culture, and current war, and I think it's so imperative to the U.S. that we eradicate this sympathy. We all know the left is all about emotion and refuses to listen to logic. But the hard part is, how can we show them that these people pose the biggest threat to our country that we have ever seen? How can I, as a national security activist, show people that the problem isn't our guns? The problem is the left's avoidances of hurting other people's feelings. The killing of my people has outraged me so far to this point that I don't give a about people's feelings in this issue anymore. How can we make our government understand this? Because clearly, for some reason, these horrible attacks aren't enough for the liberals to understand that.
Well, I said it yesterday in my final thoughts. Thank you, by the way. That was excellent. Also, let me tell you, what you're studying, that is fantastic.
Thank you.
So you did that on your own merit, and we got Hillary and them saying, oh, well, like women don't study engineering enough. We need to boost them up. Look at what you're doing. Fantastic for you. Kick ass.
Thank you.
But I love it. You ladies are all really going to be the leaders of this country. I hope that you know that. You really are, because you got the determination. You're here, which is a great start. But speaking to that, you're 100% right on that one, and I said it in my final thoughts yesterday. 44 attacks under President Obama. 44. You know how many George Bush had before 9/11? 0. okay? 44 under Obama. Did he cause the attacks? Not specifically, but when you sit back and you do nothing, it's funny he said that too. He said it about guns. He said to actively do nothing is also a decision. For once, the slippery buffoon was right. To actively do nothing is a decision. And when he sits back and won't say radical Islam, and Hillary, she said it yesterday, but she kind of walked it back a little bit too. She said, well, Trump wants me to call it that. I guess I will. So she said it, but it's not good enough. Here's what I don't understand, and this is the logic that we're going to turn back on them, because I'm all about turning the logic back on the liberals and then watching them squirm. So here's the thing. So if you're telling me that we can't say radical Islam or radical Muslim because it's going to offend the majority of peaceful Muslims, what you're really saying is that all of the peaceful Muslims in the world are one offensive label away from becoming terrorists. At essence, isn't that what they're telling you? They're saying you're playing into the hands of ISIS if you offend Muslims. So that's exactly what you're saying. You're saying that if we offend Muslims, they're going to become terrorists. So you're lumping all those peaceful people in, and you're saying, those people, they're right on the edge. They're tiptoeing into jihad. Be careful, don't upset them, don't hurt their feelings. So what you're doing is you're saying that they all have it within them and that you're going to provoke it. I personally don't believe that. I do believe that there are peaceful Muslims, but we need to separate the peaceful Muslims from the radicals. And by no way calling them radical Muslims, that's what they are. See, girl in the white, you've been laughing at all my jokes, so you get to go.
Hi, I'm Annalise. I'm from Illinois. I'm a huge fan, by the way.
Thank you.
Back to your whole, said you talking about feminism.
Yeah, anything you want.
Do you consider yourself a feminist?
No, because they've ruined the label. They've destroyed it. Maybe we'll think of something else. Maybe we'll make a new word. We'll, hashtag something new. But no, I can't call myself a feminist because you lump me in with the rest of the feminists, like Lena Dunham, and no, I reject that. But thank you, that's a great question. I can sit up here and tell you all day I'm not a feminist. No, not what you've made it. Nope. Next to you.
I'm Grace Judice. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm 13. So I like talking about politics and the country's issues a lot. And my peers, keep in mind these are people in middle school, will often tell me that I don't really have an opinion because of my age. I don't know what I'm talking about because of my age, and I'm just listening to what my daddy says. So how do you think I should go about letting those people know that just because I'm young, I do have an opinion and I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to that?
Well, last time I checked, there wasn't an age requirement for having a brain. So there you go. And you can tell them that. You tell them that Tommy told them there's not an age requirement for having a brain. So many people told me that as well. I started my first show at One America when I was 21 years old. So I was the youngest. I'm 23 now. So people would tell me, you don't know what you're talking about. You're only 21. You can't have an opinion. Do I know everything? God, no, I don't know everything. But I can tell you it from my lens and my perspective. And I do study it and I do pay attention. So you can tell them, no, I don't listen to what my daddy says. And you know what? If they're liberals and they tell you that you're listening to what your daddy says, you can say, that sounds rather sexist of you, doesn't it? That I can't have a thought. I can't have a cognitive thought on my own. Sounds like the loving left is at it again. You absolutely form your opinions. You strengthen them. My piece of advice for you would be this. Don't just listen to people like me. Listen to Rachel Maddow and the left. Listen to them because you're going to get stronger by listening to them. I don't listen to Megyn Kelly because why would I listen to someone that I already know holds my own views? Listen to the enemy. Listen to what they're up to because then you can refute your points. That's the best advice I can give you. But also watch my videos and share them because I would appreciate it. But watch Rachel Maddow too. There in the end, I see you in the orange.
Hi, I'm Ginny from the University of Alabama, and I'm going to take this to a different note. You've obviously talked about how you get a lot of criticism for the things you say, and I was wondering on what level do you let the criticism get to you, and if it's ever hurt how you approach different topics?
I don't let it bother me. I laugh about it, which with a lot of things, I think if we laugh about it, I get so many mean tweets. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm in a rap song now with Jay-Z. If you haven't heard it, and Drug Dealers Anonymous, you'll hear my final thoughts featured in the Jay-Z Pusha T song. So after that, and after I went after Beyonce, the underdog Beyonce, me, this giant figure going after the underdog that is Beyonce. I know, it must have been really painful for her. But after I did that, my social media was swarmed with bees. I still get one every every now and again I can't post a picture of me and my damn dog without a bee on it. Like, people, get a hobby, get a job, like, do something. But at the end of the day, they say so many mean things. They're often misspelled, which is one thing. They're poor grammar. The people generally that are posting these things, and we're talking about social media in general, like, I'll look at their profile picture and it looks like they're selling their mixtape at Walmart. So I don't really take them very seriously. So I laugh it off because you're doing something right. You're causing a conversation. You're causing a reaction in people. Sometimes it's going to be positive. Sometimes it's going to be negative. However, those that have legitimate opinions that aren't even on social media, just people that disagree with me, and they call me names and they say, what you say is very controversial. That may be so, and some people are going to label me. They're going to call me a racist. They're going to call me a bigot. Some might even go as far as to call me a sexist, which is really amazing that they believe they can do that. But it doesn't bother me because I can back up absolutely everything that I say. If you're definitive and you know who you are and you know what you stand for and you know you're not a racist and you know you're not a bigot and you know you're not a sexist, you know you're not a homophobe, you know you're not whatever label they give you, call me what you want because I can back it up all day long. So it doesn't steer me away from saying anything controversial. I think that's why people have found a home in my final thoughts, is because I say the things that a lot of people want to say, but they're afraid of the labels. They don't want to say them because they don't want their liberal friends to get upset. It doesn't bother me. I mean, that's why I'm here. I make a living doing it, and I'm very blessed to do so. So thank you for your question, but no, speak the truth all day long. If it bothers them, then they should get a job. But let's see. I have so many hands. In the back, I got two ladies. I'll do both of you.
Hi, I'm Mary. I'm from Kentucky. So I was having a conversation the other day with my friend, and she's like a really huge feminist and all. And so I was trying to tell her how, like, there's women in other countries that have, like, actual problems, like women aren't allowed to drive, like they're not allowed to watch sports. And so her, like, reaction to that is she was like, well, we're the United States, like, to fix that, we have to set the best example and be the most equal, and then things will change. So what would you say to respond to that?
Well, I drove here today, so I definitely have driving privileges. What I would say to that is, when they say we need to be an example, we do need to be an example. That's fantastic. I think that we're all very blessed to live in the United States of America. We have more rights than anyone else in the world. What I say to those people that say, you know, in other countries they don't have the rights, you're entirely right. The Clinton Foundation is taking money from those countries, okay? First of all, so when Hillary sits there and says, like, oh, I am for women, yeah, look at some of the donors to the Clinton Foundation, and that should sum it up for you. Also, what happened in Orlando? This is something that I spoke about too. We're talking about the LGBT community, we're talking about gay rights, those things. The people on the left, what they fail to realize is that there's a common thread in those things, in homophobia and anti-women, anti-American, anti-gay, and it's Islam. Those countries that these people hold up, that they're so sensitive to, there's so much Muslim sensitivity, so much sensitivity about Islam, they're holding up this notion, but yet those are the countries that are actively degrading women, gays, Americans, freedom, dignity, human rights. So yeah, let's start by naming the problem. Political correctness, that's not going to name the problem. It doesn't do any good for anyone. It just hampers us, and it helps us to avoid the problem and live in a little ignorant, blissful world. Things are not going to get better around the world. And another thing to tell your friends, the world fails when America takes a backseat, when we're weak, when we stand up like President Obama does and blames guns for acts of terrorism. The world does not win when the United States takes a backseat. The world wins when the United States takes a front seat. And then you right there, perfect.
Hi, I'm Kimber, I'm from Ohio, and I was actually on Twitter the other day having a discussion about the events in Orlando. And I was just wondering at what point, or the liberals will comment and try to invalidate my opinion and my arguments, and also yours in the comment section. And I was wondering at what point do you respond back to them?
When they say something so egregious that I feel it needs a response, a lot of times I don't like to validate it because that gives them fuel for their fire. But yesterday, for example, sometimes I'll screenshot people's tweets because I feel that they need to be responded to. Yesterday I had someone, I assume that they were of the Islamic faith, comment and say, don't you dare talk about our holy month of Ramadan in your final thoughts. And I said, I screenshotted it and I tweeted back and I said, honey, I didn't. The State Department warned us about your holy month of Ramadan a while back. So I'm sorry, it's fair game. When the State Department says, be careful of attacks during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, I'm sorry, Ramadan is on the table. When Omar Mateen, not this Mateen, calls 911 and pledges allegiance to ISIS and praises Tsarnaev brothers for the Boston bombing, I'm sorry, Islam has been implicated. And it seems like our leftist leaders are the only ones that are left out of this game because they're the only ones that don't seem to understand it, aren't they? So I would say in your response, don't stoop down to petty levels. What the liberals will do when they can't win an argument is they'll call you stupid, and they'll say that you're just like they'll tell me, like, you're just a dumb blonde. What are you talking about?
Racist.
Yeah, you're just a dumb white expletive, like, what do you know? Still hot though, but you're stupid. Like, okay, thank you. I mean, if that's all you can do is say I'm stupid because I'm blonde, like, I think I just won the argument. Also, spell check is key. Spell check is key for all the liberals out there. Let's see, I have so many from this side of the room. I see a hand waving, there you are. I'm probably going way over time. Everyone's probably hungry, but that's okay.
So I recently read an article.
Let's order some pizza. Mateen, get on that.
So I recently read an article written by a Muslim woman actually about Islam and multiculturalism, and then also being a proponent of women's rights. And so in this article, she argued about how they're kind of mutually exclusive because you can't turn a blind eye to the treatment of women in Muslim countries and also be a proponent of multiculturalism. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were about that.
I think that kind of goes back to the question I got earlier, is that we need to understand that the core of anti-women, anti-gay, anti-American, anti-humanity, anti-human rights, at the core of it really is Islam. Not all Muslims believe those things, but that is the dominant ideology. That's what their government mandates. That's what their holy text mandates. That's what Sharia law mandates. So you can't separate the two. You can't separate those that might be good people, that might be peaceful Muslims, that might live their life and not want to hurt, harm anyone. They might not be intolerant of anyone, but you can't separate that from Islam. And then I would agree with her statement. We need to hold that up and you just say, clearly there are some flaws here. They need to be recognized because you can't turn a blind eye to it because you allow it to continue. And political correctness does that as well. When you won't name the problem, won't call it the problem is going to continue unless you look it down in the eye and you square your shoulders and you attack it. And we won't do it under this president, we won't do it under Hillary, but I think our only choice now is Trump. So let's all hold our breath and hope that something good comes of that. Okay, let's see. The girl, I'm gonna get you next, but you're anxiously waving your hand. Okay. Now everyone's going to anxiously wave their hand because they know that it catches my attention.
Hi, my name's Laura. I'm from Illinois. So I was a huge Marco Rubio fan, just like you.
As was I. Thank you.
So it's been really hard for me these past 3 months to kind of accept the hateful rhetoric of Donald Trump. So I just kind of wanted to ask you how you went about kind of accepting that.
It's not easy, but here's the thing. I come from a middle-class family, as I'm sure many of you probably do as well. I mean, I'm from South Dakota, humble beginnings. When my parents go home at night and they're worried about paying the bills, and they're worried about national security, and they're worried about the mortgage, and they're worried about all these things, they don't seem to care much that Trump said mean things about Rosie O'Donnell. So at the end of the day, you need to make your choice. You need to say, yes, is this something, would I speak like that? Actually, I kind of do sometimes. But would I speak like that if I was a presidential candidate? Would I use the rhetoric that Trump does? Would I tweet the things that Trump does? Absolutely not. However, when I'm separating the two and I'm looking at my options, let's be realistic. We don't have an ideal choice. Everyone out there that's on the never Trump train, and I'm sorry if you are, but they're pounding their fists and they're saying like, no, never Trump, and they tell you like, never Trump doesn't mean Hillary. Be realistic, it does. Gary Johnson's not going to get elected. It is. I live in the world of reality. I know what Hillary is. I have hope for what Trump could be. I hope that he'll surround himself with the right people. And it's a misnomer. President Obama has turned the executive office into some kind of a throne. It's not. It's Congress that we need to be looking towards. I believe in Paul Ryan. I believe that he'll set an agenda. I believe Trump will help facilitate that agenda. I believe that he will. I'm optimistic. I know what Hillary will do. Okay, I know what she will do. So I looked at Trump's rhetoric. I don't like it. A lot of times he says things I don't agree with. A lot of times he says things that I think have gone a little bit too far. A lot of times, though, the media is unfair with his comments, and I'll be happy to address them if we want to go into any number of them. Some of them are black and white. Others, though, the media hammers him. They back him into a corner. They know that he speaks off the cuff, and they know that they're going to get him to say, they're going to goad him into saying something horrible. So it's not that I'm not giving a pass for that. But at the end of the day, I care about this country, I care about this economy, I care about jobs, I know what Hillary will do. So if Trump says mean things, sometimes you kind of have to put it in your pocket and deal with it, because that's the choices that we're facing right now, and it's a hard truth, but here we are, here's what it is. Let's see, let's do the girl in the black with the white right on the edge, right? You, yes. Sorry, I wish I knew your name. I could guess, but.
My name is Haley.
That was what I was gonna guess. Just kidding.
Okay, so I'm a high school student. I'm 15 years old, and I go to White Oak High School in Texas. And I have a problem with our school system because I see a really large gap in political education. I think it's crazy that I could honestly never have to do another Pythagorean theorem problem for the rest of my life, but a lot of my classmates don't know the difference between capitalism and socialism. So, do you think that this is the school's fault or the student's fault? And what would you do if you were in my shoes and in this school system having to deal with this, and how would you go forward with it?
I'm going to address socialism separately, but to your point, I don't think it's any one person's fault. I think that if you depend on the school system to educate your children and to educate yourself, you're failing yourself. And a lot of people don't have the option. A lot of people, they don't have parents at home, or they have a poor family life, and I understand that. I do believe that a lot of your education also needs to come from your parents and come from outside sources. I do think that there's a gap. Let's be honest, most teachers are Democrats. Most teachers are liberals. That's the way that it is. I was educated in a school, even in South Dakota, where we would take tests to find out if we were Republican or Democrat, and I'm not kidding you. Some of the questions would be like, do you believe women should vote? If yes, you're a Democrat. No, and I would call it, I'd be like, no, I don't think this is quite right here. But the school system is going to, and when you get to college, it's going to be worse. I'll tell you a story. I was forced to take a women's studies class when I know, right? So also like the theory of why men are awful, and also white people. But I was in this women's studies class, and I took it because I needed the elective. That's another thing. I never had to learn how to do taxes, but I definitely had to learn about theater. Why that's a requirement in fine arts, I still don't understand. But in this women's studies class, I'm not kidding you, we all had to line up next to each other. And this was a class filled with men, women, every color of the rainbow, gay, straight, whatever it was. We all had to stand in a line, and we were asked questions like, for example, did your parents ever take you to a play? If so, step forward. Questions like that. Did your parents ever tell you that they love you? If so, step forward. And simple questions like that. At the end, everyone that was in the front that had stepped forward, they were all white kids. And the whole point of this thing was to show that there was white privilege. But look at the questions. So I'm not kidding you, this is not going to end when you get to college, it's going to get worse. And now they have safe spaces. What I would say this whole thing, this whole socialism versus capitalism, and Charlie can speak to this, and him and I speak to it on a daily basis, and he does an excellent job with it. What I call Bernie supporters, and I say this affectionately, very affectionately, so bear with me, I call them well-meaning morons. So their heart is in the right place. I do believe that many Bernie supporters and many of these people that are for socialism in the United States, I believe that their heart is in the right place, but they don't understand socialism because they fail to recognize the places in the world that it's failed. In every instance in the world where it has been tried, it has failed. Case number one, Venezuela, where there is, I'm not kidding you, a black market for toilet paper. Welcome to socialism. Welcome to socialism. I would say to your point, because you are in high school, for those that tell you that like they're for socialism, they believe that they're a socialist, they believe capitalism is wrong. I've used this in my final thoughts. Use it. Tell them this. Say, okay, so we're in a group project, right? And I'm in a group with you, but I'm not going to do any of the work. I'm going to let you do all the work, and then whatever grade we get, we're going to share that grade. So if you work your butt off and I do nothing, then I'm going to get your A. That's socialism. And they're not going to like it when it's put on them or placed on them, but because they don't understand it. But if you put it in terms that they can understand, especially at the school level, hopefully they'll start to come around. Because yeah, black market for toilet paper sounds like a good life, right? Yeah, go Bernie. Girl in the front with the elephants on your dress, I like it. You guys all look so nice, by the way. You're all dressed so well.
Hi, I'm Michelle DeGroot, and I'm 13, and I'm going to 8th grade in California. So the Second Amendment.
Good luck.
The Second Amendment's something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm wondering about like how you go about liberals who don't understand that gun control won't stop criminals from getting guns.
The fact that they don't get it in and of themselves is mind-boggling to me. The fact that they think that a psycho or a terrorist hell-bent on killing people is going to be stopped by a sign that says gun-free zone, that boggles my mind. It's like, well, there's a sign, better pack it in for the day. Like, no, that's not, like Omar Mateen is like, I'm gonna go to the gay club, but you know, would they prefer when they're like, it's guns, you know, he was so easily got his hands on guns. Do you think that someone that's going to murder 49 people really is going to stop and be like, yeah, but the gun laws, you know, it might take me a while to get the gun. I'm gonna have to, you know, legally source my gun, make sure I get the paperwork in the back. No, they're not gonna do so. So remind them that lunatics and psychos, which they love to label them, especially when they're white, they love to label like, look at the psycho, look at the monster, mentally unstable, he's got a problem. And then you look at that and say like, yeah, and that's a law-abiding citizen that's gonna follow your strict gun laws. I don't think so. But at the core, liberals, most of them anyway, are not stupid. They understand this. They control the narrative, though. Because when they say those things and they can control the narrative, then they can put it forth and they can say things instead of gun control, they call it gun safety. They're very good at that. They switch the narrative around all the time because gun safety, like who's not going to be for gun safety, right? So they're going to flip the narrative and they're going to try to give you instances where, you know, gun violence is bad. They're going to cite it. They're going to use emotional pleas. They're going to use feelings. They're going to use Sandy Hook. They're going to do it all day long. At the core of it, though, they're just furthering their lie because the thing that they won't tell you is that they don't want you to have a gun. It's not that they want your gun to be safer. It's not that they want you to go through more background checks. It's because they don't want you to have a gun. Because they can't sit there and logically in their minds believe. These are a lot of educated people. They can't really believe that more strict gun laws are going to solve the violence in our streets, the radical terrorism, the psychos that go into a church in South Carolina and murder people. They can't honestly think that. They're lying to themselves and they're lying to you. So remind them of that.
Thank you.
Let's see. Front row, black and white shirt.
Hi, my name is April Carroll. I'm from Tennessee, and so on my campus we have a hall named Forest Hall, and it's from Nathan Bedford Forrest. And this past semester, it's been a huge issue on whether we should change the name or not. And I was just wondering your thoughts on not only that, but the Black Lives Matter movement, because they're the ones who are championing, saying that, it needs to be changed, and they're saying that, you know, if you're conservative and you support the name, I had a friend who got a death threat, and so it made me really nervous to be a conservative and say, hey, why, and in Murfreesboro, he had a huge presence in the community, and so I was wondering how you would combat Black Lives Matter, I guess, and then also supporting the name change despite death threats.
Right. Well, I've had my share of death threats, and if we're going to go on a Black Lives Matter, boy, we're going to be here for a while, ladies. So, Mateen, you better get that pizza ordered. But I will say this about the name-changing thing. God, why are the liberals so obsessed with names? It's like they say Trump is obsessed with name-calling. They are obsessed with name-calling, whether it be the Confederate flag. They want to take the names off of everything. PETA wants to take the names off of animal names, anything that's related to that. The Redskins, the list goes on. They have such an obsession with changing the names of things. At what point does it stop, though? It's a slippery slope. Anything that's named after a person has probably done something in their life that's not admirable. Let's be honest, the founding of our country was bloody, and it wasn't something that we can be proud of in every instance. But to go and change the name of everything that's going to offend someone, and to not say anything that could potentially offend someone, we're going to have to start miming, and we're going to have to start calling things by numbers, numerically, because something is going to offend everyone. It's a slippery slope. So you have to tell them, you know what, listen, I understand that that name might be offensive to you. We're not going to change the name because this is what it's named. It costs money to change the name. Get over it. At the end of the day, it's not hampering your life. It's not hurting your life. It's not taking away your rights. It's not putting you into slavery. It's not doing anything to you. If it offends you, I'm sorry, life's tough. Get a helmet. That's just how it is. They don't want to hear it. It doesn't sound good. But the Black Lives Matter movement, and I'm not going to go into this too much because I've had a lot of segments on this, but the Black Lives Matter movement started out, in my opinion, like the Bernie movement started out, like well-meaning morons. So they had these great intentions. They wanted to advance their notion of what social justice means. They saw a problem, they felt victimized, they felt targeted, so they wanted to bring up a social movement and to ignite something. And at the basis, I think that it was well-meaning. And then it turned into something very ugly. And it spiraled out of control, and it became anti-cop, it became anti-American, it became anti-white. It became an intimidation factor that they could use, and then if you were against them, that they could label you a racist. I don't think that that's how the civil rights movement was successful in intimidation. That's why I spoke out against the Black Panthers. I don't think that it's a movement that those that really are seeking social justice would advance. The fact that they're roasting pigs outside of law enforcement and police departments, the fact that they think that that's going to advance their cause and their notion boggles my mind. The fact that they use the false narrative of hands up, don't shoot, even though it's been proven false, that they use that continually, discredits what they're doing. And not that Black lives don't matter, but all lives matter. So advancing the notion that somehow Black lives matter more, or somehow we need to be paying attention to white racist cops because that's what's wrong with inner city problems, they're ignoring the bigger problem in the inner cities, in my opinion, and they like to transfer the blame onto the likely source, and that's white law enforcement. That's not where the blame lies. There's plenty of blame to be spread around, but what it's become has become something ugly, and I don't think that any of the true civil rights leaders or those looking to advance a notion of equality and justice could be for a movement that's transformed in that way. But you're going to get called names when you speak out against it. So have your facts ready to go and have your reasoning ready to go, because they're going to come after you and they're going to call you racist and they're going to give you death threats. And if it bothers you, then don't do it. But if you want to be strong and stand up against it, then that's really your only option. Okay, I got one. Oh, I'm sorry. I get directional sometimes. Okay. The girl on the end in the green skirt, turquoise green skirt, and then the one that was waving her hand, I saw you.
Hi, my name is Anna, and I want to thank you for coming today. It's been great to hear you. I have a question about the GOP. Throughout the last several years, and especially during this election, we have seen division in the GOP and on the right. What do you think is the key to preserving the conservative movement, especially after this election?
I talk about this a lot because the Never Trump movement it's not as strong as they'd like you to believe it is, but it is. The Democrats love it when we're divided. The thing that Republicans do that Democrats don't do is we question each other, because we really do want what's best for the country, and we really do stick it to each other, and we question each other. The Democrats don't do that so much. That's why they're so upset with Bernie right now, because he's questioning Queen Hillary, and they hate it, because the Democrats, they all collude together, and they stand firm, and that's how they're able to win elections, because they don't question each other. But Republicans, in most cases, have a conscience, and so if they see something that's wrong, we have various opinions. We can all be conservatives in this room. Some of you might hate Donald Trump. Some of you might love him. Some of you might like Marco Rubio. Some of you might like Gary Johnson. You might be libertarians, what have you. We can disagree with each other and still be held together by the same framework and the same values and the same backbone and a love of America. So I think that we need to stand together. Divided, we will fall. This is an inclusive group as well. This is inclusive for everyone. This is for everyone to be a part of in our ideas and the things that make this great. I myself say all day long, I'm a fiscal conservative, I'm a social moderate. I don't care what you do with your body. I don't want to pay for it. And I guess that might be a libertarian view in some ways. That's where I stand. And some people in this room might be adamantly pro-life, and that's fine. That's okay. You can hold your personally held beliefs, and you can still be a Republican, and you can still stand up for what's right in this country. The thing I will say as well that disappoints me with the GOP is we've lost sight of the principles in many cases, and the Never Trump movement will say that they put principles over party. They'll say all day long, I put my personally held principles above the party, that's why I'm Never Trump, that's why I'm not going with the RNC. But I sit there and think, are you really putting up principles over party, or are you upset because the game is changing and you're going to be left behind? For too long, the GOP has been talkers. I was a fan of Ted Cruz as well, but we're not going to abolish the IRS. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. So when you sit out here as a politician, you preach all these things that you're going to do and they're not realistic, at some point you're a politician. And that's why we're seeing a resurgence in grassroots Republican values. I don't believe Trump is a conservative. I think he's a Republican. I think he's a businessman. I think that we need a change. We need someone that's going to go in and shake up the system. We need to shake the dust off of Washington, D.C., because for too long, Washington, D.C. has existed in a bubble, And the only thing that we can do is unite as conservatives with all of our various opinions and guide the party in the direction that we need to go. And we can do that through our votes, and we can do that through the agenda that's set. I think Paul Ryan's an excellent example of that, and the way that he has embraced Trump in a cautious but optimistic way. I think that's the tone that the party needs to take right now. Because honestly, as I mentioned earlier, reality sets in, and it's either you support Trump and you support what we have going on in Congress right now and the majorities that we have, or you support Hillary Clinton and you support Supreme Court picks that are going to be liberals, that it could forever change the fabric of this country. Speaking of Second Amendment, that's one of them. So pay attention and get together, because it's going to be Hillary if we don't, to be quite honest with you. Let's see.
Hi, Tommy. I'm a really big fan of yours. I'm from UCLA. My name's Julia. Yeah. Shout out to California. So I was wondering, how has modern feminism led to the passing of the Senate bill this morning, which includes a necessity for women to be included in the draft? And what are the negative effects of this? Because we at Turning Point, obviously, we're all women and we're all basically of that age, so that directly affects us, even though we aren't necessarily represented on this level in Congress and in the Senate.
Sure. So women in the draft, that's an interesting one. I'm going to change it a little bit to women in combat. The draft thing, it's not that I don't want to talk about it, it's just it's not rooted in reality to me. I don't think that we're going to have a draft soon. That was for political purposes, the reason that was put in. Rep. Hunter from California, the reason that he advanced that was to put the liberals in their place. So he wanted to put that forward and say like, oh, like you're for women's equality, bet you don't want them to sign up for the draft though. And so he tried to turn it on them, so that's why that whole thing came about. But turning to women in combat, so we're all women here and we're all kick-ass women and we all support our country, and I have many friends that are female Marines and the like, and this is a difficult issue because I do believe that if you have the will to serve your country, that you should serve your country. I also believe, though, in reality, here's the deal. I formerly, as about 2 weeks ago, was dating a Navy SEAL, right? So they're going to open up the combat positions. Yeah, I said up until 2 weeks ago he dumped my ass. But anyway, so sorry. When you're talking about women in combat, now the special operations are being opened to women. So you're going to have about a handful of women that are going to try to make it through BUDS, which is Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, Army Ranger School. We had some that graduated, and that's great for them. They're able to pass a lot of those requirements. Good for them. I could never do it. I could barely do a pull-up, but good for them. Like, they are amazing women, and I believe in what they can do. I believe in our female Marines. I believe that there is jobs in the military that women can do specifically that are so much better than what the men can do, because the way a woman thinks is necessary in military. In combat positions and special operations, I don't think women should be in those positions, and I'll tell you why. The military is not a social experiment. So it might not be our problem. Women, we might be able to do the job just fine. Maybe there are some women out there that can meet the physical requirements. The military, especially in special operations, you're dealing with a hypermasculine environment. And it's successful because it is a hypermasculine environment. That's what they are trained to do. They have a brotherhood. I've seen that brotherhood firsthand. You can't throw a couple women and sprinkle them in there. It changes it. And it might not bother you, but as a man, and like real men, when they have a woman next to them, regardless of how well trained she is in combat, they're gonna take care of that woman, and it's gonna take their focus off of the job at hand, and that's dangerous. It's dangerous for the men, it's dangerous for the women. Don't compromise the mission. This is not a time to be compromising the mission for political correctness or for the social experiment that is not have its place in the U.S. military. So many people talk about the military like it's your average job. It's not your average job. You can't integrate women into it and sprinkle a few in and expect the social experiment to work, because lives are on the line. Lives are on the line. That's where I have a hard time. I believe in what they're doing, and I'm so proud of the women that are able to do it, but I don't believe in compromising the integrity of the United States military.
We have a question over here.
I can't see.
Oh, right here.
Oh.
Hi, Tommy. I'm
Hello.
Gina. I was just curious what your advice would be to all of our Turning Point USA activists around the country, what we could do to better advance our message and what we're doing around here.
I love Turning Point, and here's why. Because Turning Point doesn't come up like the dorky people that approach you on college campuses. They all look the same. Turning Point is so much different because you guys preach a message that's so real, which is big government sucks. You don't go up and say like, yeah, that's what you do. And you explain it to people. And Charlie does it better than anyone I've seen, because Charlie sits there and tells all these college kids, like, you hate capitalism, but you're on your cell phone calling up an Uber. So you don't hate capitalism, and he explains it to them, because at the core, like, most people are capitalists and they do believe in the work that Turning Point advances. They just don't understand. So Turning Point, the fact that you're able to go out and mobilize and just talk to people and not preach things, not show pictures of like fetuses like some of them do, and they're so aggressive and they're so bombastic and abrasive, and it turns people away. Turning Point approaches it in such a different way, and that's why I love what you guys do, because you preach it in a message like, listen, this is where we're at right now. Do you want a job? Big government sucks. Like, do you want innovation? Big government sucks. Do you believe in a false narrative of this war on women? No? Okay, well then you're with us. You're more conservative than you thought you were, and let me explain it to you. Keep going out and doing what you're doing. Talk to people on a very real level. You don't have to be so buttoned up and so formal. Go out and just speak to people the way that you speak to each other. That's what I do. You hear me every day doing it, and people criticize me for it all the time. Like, you can't say that, Tommy. You don't want to say a swear word. You don't want to talk like this. You don't want to speak in this way. Why? That's how we speak to each other. So we need to bring it down to the level of just speaking to each other. Turning Point does it better than any organization I've ever seen. I'm not just saying that because Charlie's a friend of mine, but really it does. Okay, this side of the room still. Probably do maybe 5 more questions. Let's do 5, okay. I haven't done any in the back for a while. Okay. There's a girl right here in the pink, and then the girl in the gray. So I haven't done the middle of the room.
Hi, Tommy. I'm a super big fan. My dad has been a cop since before I was born, and obviously it's not a great time to be in law enforcement.
First of all, let's do a round of applause for that, because they're the most underappreciated people in this country.
Thank you. What would you say, obviously, he doesn't let us go out with him when he's in uniform anymore because it's just not safe. What would you say, because I'm obviously an avid law enforcement advocate.
As we all should be.
What would you say would be the best argument for someone who is trashing law enforcement, who's bad-mouthing them, who's giving them a hard time? What would you say would be the best argument to give to them?
Olivia asked me that question, actually. I'm going to start with a story, a little anecdote, if you will. I have a good friend, his name is Randy Sutton. He's the national spokesman for the Blue Lives Matter movement. And he came to me one day, he was on my show, and he's like, Tommy, I want to tell you something. Right now, we've got all these fast food workers out protesting their fight for 15. They want $15 an hour and to flip burgers and whatever. Not that that's not a meaningful job, but it's not worth $15 an hour. He said, there was a cop in Pennsylvania that was on, he was a rookie cop, and he was responding to a domestic violence call where he got shot. He was making $12 an hour. Ground that in reality right now. For those out there that think that cops, with the amount that they make, which is an average $45,000 a year, okay, about on par with teachers who complain all the time, if you think that someone gets up for an average of $45,000 a year and puts on a badge because somehow they're trying to advance their white racism, you're fooling yourself. That's not why they do it. And it's sickening to me, and it's so sad that you can't walk out with your father when he's wearing his uniform, because that should be a badge of honor. We used to look to police officers as a safety. No one, where has this country gone? And what I'm seeing right now in law enforcement next to the United States military is so important to me, because I'm sure your dad could tell you about this all day long. Police officers right now are more afraid of a camera video that's going to make them look racist. They are more afraid of that than actually being in the line of fire. That's where this country has gone wrong. That's where political correctness is literally killing people. And what's going to happen, and what the Black Lives Matter activists won't tell you, is this. Depolicing is going to happen, and it's already happening. Ask your dad, it is going to happen. Young cops, rookie cops, veteran cops are going to go out in the field, and they're going to say, you know what? Do I want to respond to the calls in the inner cities? Do I want to go and put myself in that situation? Or should I just write up a couple traffic tickets and call it a day? Do I want to respond to those difficult calls that might end up with a YouTube video or a cell phone video of me portraying me as a racist that's going to forever damage and ruin the rest of my life? No. So I'm going to pull back, and I'm going to stay out of those communities. I'm going to play it safe. I'm not going to go in and intervene. And then what's going to happen? The inner cities are going to see more violence. They're going to see more young people being attacked. They're going to see more gang violence. They're going to see more rape. They're going to see more lawlessness. They're going to see more drive-by shootings because cops are not going to go to those areas because they don't want to be put in that situation. And then what's going to happen is those same people, those same Black Lives Matter activists are going to turn around and say, white cops are neglecting our neighborhoods. Watch it. Give it 2 years, because that's what the narrative is going to be, but they're sowing their own seeds right now, and that's what they don't realize. Cops are not your enemy. Cops are not, at their core, most cops are not racists. They're not. If you think that they're going out, why that clicks in their mind that an officer would put their life on the line every day because they want to go out and they want to have the opportunity to possibly shoot someone like Michael Brown. The logic is messed up there. Thank your Father for what he does. And I hope to see a day in this country when police officers in our United States military and everyone else in uniform, our first responders, can go out and wear the uniform with pride. Because it is prideful. So sickening. All right, let's do three more. Where's my mic at? Let's see. Oh, the girl, I said I would get you.
Okay, I have a comment and a question, and my comment is regarding Donald Trump, and I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I went to the Arizona State Delegate Conference in April, and our chairman, Robert Graham, gave this good analogy, if you will. So if we elect Donald Trump and he turns out to not be a good president, it ends there. It stops there. Like, we just have a so-so president for 4 years. But if we elect Hillary Clinton, we're literally ruining generations. They're just completely ruined. So, like, some of you may not agree with that, but think about that. And my question is, I think that your comments and your remarks regarding the issues surrounding our military, our law enforcement, and also just American pride in general are really on point. And as conservatives, how can we combat this leftist, the popular leftist notion that those who are currently fighting, have fought, and have died for our freedoms, this notion that they're not worthy of our respect and our support and our love, and the same thing with our flag?
That's great. First of all, to your first comment there, speaking of that, I think we've brought this up a few times today, what Hillary Clinton would mean for this country. And you know what? That actually ties into the military. I cannot send my loved ones and your loved ones out to fight this half war against ISIS with the commander-in-chief of Hillary Clinton. I can't do it, I can't stomach it. If you need no other reason to vote for Donald Trump than that, there you are, because we know what Hillary Clinton means for our troops. And you can ask them. Most people in the military, by and large, if you have anybody in your family, they ask them what they think about Hillary Clinton, and they'll say, like, no, she can't be my commander-in-chief. So that's an excellent way to tie that into the military. I hear a lot of people disparage the military. They call them like trained killers, like paid killers. Again, same thing with law enforcement. Do you know how much money that they make to go overseas? Do you know what happens when they go and they deploy? Do you know how like miserable that is for them? Do you know what that does to their families? Yeah, do you know the sacrifices that their families make as well? Do you know when they go out there? I'm just talking about like special operations. They deploy for 6 months, and that's less than most deploy, but they deploy to very dangerous areas for 6 months at a time, where they sleep on cots and they eat like ready-to-eat meals that are disgusting, and they're away from their families, and they don't get a lot of communication with their families. And a lot of times, and those of you in the military, they know this. They miss entire opportunities with their lives. They miss their son's baseball games. They miss their daughter's piano lessons. They might miss their daughter's baseball games, and we're all equal opportunity here. They're missing a lot in their lives, and if you think that they're doing that because they want to go over in the sandbox and just kill people indiscriminately, again, same logic with law enforcement. You don't have to respect the mission that they're doing. If you are anti-war and you are anti-intervention, that's okay. This is the United States, and thank God we all have the ability to disagree with it. You can do that. You don't have to stand by the mission. You stand by our troops because they give a hell of a lot for you. They really do. And they don't make a lot for it, and the least we can do is pay them our respect, at the very least. Okay, I've got one in the front, the white headband. Poor Mateen's butt's got to get sore at this point. He's been spinning on the floor.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm from North Carolina.
I wanted to ask you a question about when it comes to like talking with liberals and stuff. A lot of times I find myself just like wanting to give up because I feel like some of them are just like too far gone that they're not going to accept any of my arguments, even if I try to like be respectful or whatever. Like some people, like how do you decide like if they're worth like talking to or not, and like how do you? Because I just think some people are so set in their ways that they won't like respond to what you do, and like how do you know when that point is that you just need to like ignore it and be like they're a lost cause?
I think the way I approach everything is by conversation. So I lived in California for a year, and I had a lot of friends that were liberals, and I had actually people that worked on my first show at One America. Everybody there was a liberal. I was one of the only conservatives in that entire building. So I would talk to them, and they knew I was conservative. They knew that what my views were. I knew what their views were. And then after a while, they started to understand some of the things. So like slowly they would start to watch my segments on my show, and then they would get their paychecks and they would see how much money was being taken out of it. And then I would have segments on my show where I talked about how food stamps are going to buy Red Bull and porn, and they would be like, what? And then I had my producer, she started dating a Marine, and she was a liberal, like she was anti-war, whatever. She started dating a Marine and he deployed. Then she was like, whoa, wait a second. Now I see this from a different lens. Do it in terms that they can relate to, have a conversation. It's not us versus them. It really is a conversation at the end of the day. And ask them why they feel that way. I mean, really, they're entitled to their opinions. And I will say this. I know there are not a lot of liberals in the room, probably none. Maybe even people that work here are not liberals, but I will say this. I would rather have someone that is passionately Democrat, passionately liberal, and they know why. I might agree, I might disagree with them all day long, but at least you believe in something, and at least you know why you are. That's I'd rather have that than someone that's neutrally ignorant and just blissful and doesn't care. If you're a liberal, at least you've got some passion and you care about your country. I might disagree with you in every way, but at least you care enough about this country to have an opinion and to believe in it. So I would approach it in that way, and then just have a conversation, because we're all human beings. God, we should all love this country. We should just have different ways of getting there, I think. All conversations are worth it,
Thank you
though.
so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's do a couple more. Girl in the white.
Okay, and we're going to do 2 more questions.
She's like, I am tired. I want to leave.
Okay, hi, I'm Peyton. I go to Lee University. So my parents are pastors, and so we've had the LGBT community come in and have their movement, and it's gone really successfully for them. Personally, I think you should be able to marry who you want. You're not hurting me. But my parents are pastors, and so my dad's in the position where he's fearful that he's going to have to marry a gay couple, and he has a personal conviction that that's not okay. So currently, there's not been any precedent for that, but they've had the bakery incidents where they've gotten sued for that. And so that's a big fear within the pastoral community, that they're going to start getting targeted and that they're going to have to stop being pastors because they have that passion in them that they don't believe that's okay. So how do we go advocate for their point of view on that without sounding like bigots?
That's actually a really great question. So I would say that's probably takes a twofold approach. So the first one is, if it's someone that's already in your community that attends your church that you know is gay, and then might come to your father and say, hey, you know, my boyfriend and I were gay, would you marry us? I would hope that your father has a close enough relationship with the people in his church community that he's able to say, listen, I love you as a person. I think you're a great human being. I support you in the love that you have. It's against my personal conviction to marry you. I hope that you understand. And then I would hope that he could approach it that way, and then we could all be civil to each other and just say, you know what, that's not my belief. That's yours. I just have a personally held belief against that. I would hope that if they're in your community, that would be a way to approach it in that way. If it's someone that on the outside, there's also a movement similar to the Black Lives Matter movement. That's this LGBT movement that's so aggressive and abrasive. The glitter throwers, the one that are like, you're baking a cake or else I'm gonna put it on the news and I'm gonna make you look like a bigot. Why has this turned into this conversation? Why does this mentality need to be ramrodded down our throats in order for it to be validated? That's what I don't get. I have no problem with gay people. I have no problem with gay marriage, to be quite honest with you. I don't like it thrown in my face at every turn, just as I don't like straight couples stuff thrown in my face at every turn. I don't appreciate it. Why does it need to be so aggressive? Why does it need to be so militant in our approach? But you're gonna call you a bigot, and sometimes there's not a way around it. To be honest with you, I wish I had an answer. All you have to do is say, this is my personally held belief. I don't believe in that. This is where my faith is. You have your faith, I have mine. And at the end of the day, let's be honest, let's be human beings. Let's just say, this is how I am. This is what I believe, I'm sorry. And if they're still gonna attack you and be aggressive and call you a bigot, then that's their problem, because they're the ones that are approaching it with anger and with intimidation, and that's not what you're doing. So you can hold your head high at the end of the day and say, I stuck up for my beliefs, I'm sorry. And that's okay. That's the great thing about living in this country, is you have your First Amendment rights and you have the ability to practice your love, your religion, your faith, and you also have the ability to be called names for it. And unfortunately, that's the world in which we live. But stand firm in your conviction, because sometimes that's all you have. All right, we got 2 more. Let's do the girl right behind her, and then the other girl they'll be my last.
Hi, I'm Chloe, and I'm from Chicago. So my mom's side of the family, they're all immigrants, and they have this idea that even though they're legal, that Republicans all still hate them. What can I do or say to make them believe that Republicans just stand for the ideologies that made them want to move here in the first place?
So you said your family, they're legal immigrants.
Yes.
Okay. So let's turn this on the left, because this is one of my favorite topics, and I'm so glad you brought it up, because I get to talk about immigration. Okay. Republicans and conservatives have nothing against immigration. We have nothing against legal immigration. We are anti-illegal immigration, not legal immigration. If you come to, we're all immigrants. It's not, we want you to come into our country, we want you to contribute to our country. We believe in the steps, and we respect those that have respect for rule of law. If your family is a legal immigrant and they respect the rule of law, then they respect the United States of America, because they follow the law to get in. And nothing should piss off legal immigrants more than illegal immigrants. Watching someone cut in line in front of you when you're doing it the right way, look at them and be like, what? I'd like Hillary Clinton to do that. When all these people are coming across illegally, some by coyotes, some that are now being sex trafficked, by the way, and Hillary says, like, we want to open up for more, we want to validate, we want amnesty for illegal immigrants. How are you going to look at the legal immigrants that paid a lot of money and spent a lot of time and went through a lot of hell to do it the right way? How are you going to look them in the eye and say, like, you had to do it this way, but they're going to sneak in the back door? No, I'm sorry, that doesn't cut it for me. Another thing I would love to do for everyone that has someone turn that on you, that somehow having a secure border is racist. Said this before in my final thoughts. Illegal immigration is not a race, it's an activity. So if you think it's a race, you're the racist. I'm sorry. It's an activity. If you associate that with Mexicans, that's your problem. Because I'm not talking about Mexicans, I'm talking about illegal immigrants. I don't care which border they come through. But I would ask a liberal this. And I've used this before, so those of you that have heard it, pretend you didn't. So I would ask, just in a conversation, like we were talking about, having a great conversation with people. I would say, do you have a home? Do you lock your doors? And then most of them are going to say, like, yeah, I lock my doors. And you say, so, like, why? Do you lock your doors because you hate everyone outside? Is that why you lock your doors? Or do you lock your doors because you love the people inside? And they're going to say, well, yeah. That's what a border does. That's what a border does. That's why we have a border, to keep out those that don't need to be in there, because we love the people inside. Has nothing to do with hating Mexicans. It has nothing to do with hating South and Central Americans. It has nothing to do with hating undocumented immigrants. It has everything to do with loving the people inside and wanting to protect them, and wanting to protect those like your family that did it the right way. So ask them that. Ask them if they lock their doors. And if not, say, you know what, then I hope you leave your door unlocked for Tom, Dick, Harry, and Muhammad to come right into your house, because I'm inviting them. Tell them that. Leave your door open then. Leave your door open. Because I got about, I don't know how many girls are in here right now. Like, what do you think? 400? I'm gonna invite like 400 girls, and we're gonna come have a party in your open doors. And thank you. Because if you don't, you're all for it, right? Okay, my last question. There you are.
Hi, okay, my name is Christina, and I'm from California, and my whole family is Democrat. I just recently changed my dad into a Republican within this past year.
Well, good for you.
So my career goal, I'm a college student, but my career goal is to advocate for veterans, whether that be a lobbyist or any type of way. It just blows my mind that, we can thank little Johnny for being courageous and identifying as a woman, but we still can't freaking thank our Vietnam veterans. and people say, you know, it's 2016, the VA, you know, it's all fixed and everything's all okay in like La La Land, but
oh, it's Disney World actually. I don't know if you
heard
know, it's Disney World.
I heard that too. Yeah, it was veterans when I was standing in line
Yep.
for a ride. But my question to you would be, how would you go about like saying that, you know, the VA is so, it's not as good as it needs to be? What are your thoughts on the VA and how to change it?
Sure. Well, I actually got an email a couple weeks ago because I did some final thoughts on that very thing, and the comments made about waiting lines being like Disney World and how Disney World doesn't measure their waiting lines, so why should the VA? Did some final thoughts on that as well. And then afterwards I got an email from a nurse, a VA nurse, and she said, Tomi, I love your final thoughts. I'm such an advocate and supporter of veterans, but I'm a VA nurse and I want you to know that here at the VA, like, we're working very hard. And so I need to preface it with that by saying, you know what, there are so many people that work for the VA that work their tails off for veterans because they have a true love for veterans. So we need to separate those people from the top, right? From those people that are making the comments about Disney World, the people that are destroying the VA, those people that believe that waiting times are okay for veterans. The problem is that the VA isn't a sexy issue, right? Like the left has all these sexy issues that they want to talk about, like transgenders, Caitlyn Jenner, rape culture, Black Lives Matter, war on women. They have all the best slogans, right? But the VA, when you talk about VA, like people are like, oh, snooze. That's why it's not made mainstream as much as it should be, is because it doesn't have the sexy slogan. It doesn't have the attention that a lot of these other causes have. But what we need are voices like yours that say, you know what, the average voice that you might see advocating for the VA, well, there's a new voice in town, and we're a young voice, we're female voices, we're a broad range of voices, and we support the military and we support our veterans all day, every day. They give a lot.
Thank you.
I mean, I want to end with this too, and I have to be honest, because I took this from a meme on Instagram that I saw. How many of you know like actual war heroes that have been injured in combat, in battle, like that have actually sustained an injury or lost their lives, or even family members that have lost their loved ones, right? So a lot of you know them, right? When's the last time you really saw them in the news or their update? Maybe they were injured. Did you see updates on their condition? Did anyone really care that much? I mean, were they kind of a headline in the local newspaper, but then after that, it kind of went away, right? Meanwhile, we've got Lamar Odom, who overdosed at a crack house in Vegas, and we get updates on his recovery every 15 minutes. That's the problem with the United States of America, and it's because we're not making these issues important. But we will. I love to end on a military thing because honestly, I mean, you guys know from my first round of final thoughts, that's what I'm most passionate about, the military, our law enforcement, Americans. And I'm going to close with this. Don't let anybody ever tell you that a love of America, a love of our values, a love of our beliefs, a love of our traditions, a love of the things that make us Americans in any way makes you racist, homophobic, sexist, whatever label they want to put on you. Now, it makes you an American. And we're inclusive of everybody, and conservatives are inclusive of everybody. We need to remind ourselves that. But thank you, ladies, so much for listening to me and asking me great questions.